So let's talk a bit about gameplay. Like I said, I feel like this year's editions of Disney Infinity and Skylanders SuperChargers are more different than they have been before. I found the story mode of this year's Disney Infinity to be way improved over the previous versions. It feels a lot faster and more fluid in terms of fighting style. Probably because you're playing as a Jedi, which is freaking awesome and has been my dream since I was about this big. Plus, the whole campaign is laid out differently than in last year's Marvel Superheroes. In Marvel Superheroes, you were in this open world of New York City, and you were just going from place to place and fighting with enemies and then going back and getting a mission. It was really boring, to be honest. But in Star Wars, specifically the Twilight of the Republic playset, you are actually moving through a bunch of different locations, so it just feels a lot more interesting. More than anything though, the toy box mode has changed so much. I still don't like it, but it has gotten a lot better. There's a toy box hub now, which is divided up into a bunch of different sections based on different types of gameplay. So you can go to the racing section and experience racing. You can go to the adventure section and do some platforming exploration. You can go to the farming section and do the new farming mechanic, which is honestly the best part of the game. You also have sidekicks now that you can get to follow you around the whole toy box hub. You can feed them and equip them with weapons and cute little hats, and they'll actually join you in battle. This was by far the biggest improvement of Disney Infinity 3.0 for me personally, just because the toy box mode has always felt really lonely when I'm playing by myself. The toy box mode also makes it easier to access levels that other players have made and uploaded online, which makes Disney Infinity even more infinite than before. That being said, I still found Disney Infinity's building tools to be almost painful to use, especially in comparison to games like The Sims, which use grids and snapping to make everything so much easier. And that being said, I cannot discount how cool Disney Infinity is as a tool to teach kids concepts of coding or even just making games on their own. Because you can assign actions to objects, it gives you a very rudimentary idea of what it's like to make a game. And honestly, anything that lets you be this creative, if you have the capacity to be that creative, is pretty awesome. Skylanders SuperChargers, by contrast, is all about mainlining you through that adventure mode. I honestly find this adventure mode a lot more compelling than Disney Infinity, especially when you take into account the different attacks and gameplay styles of the different Skylanders. They feel a lot more varied than the Jedi, even though, for example, Ahsoka Tano and Anakin Skywalker do use different force powers. They still feel very similar to play. With Skylanders, you have basically 20 totally different characters to play as, if you buy that many, and that is pretty cool. Skylanders SuperChargers was especially fun when I was playing with another person. This works pretty much the same as in previous Skylanders games. You share one screen and you have a little invisible tether between you so you can't go too far apart. During the driving portions of the adventure mode, one player will drive the vehicle and the other will man the weapons. This was a really cool way to keep both players close together and have them work together. There is two-player co-op in Disney Infinity 3.0. It uses the split screen instead of sharing a screen, which I honestly find a lot less fun. That being said, playing with another person is always better. My complaint about the adventure in Skylanders SuperChargers is every level starts to feel the same. You start out running and fighting, then you get in your car and you drive down a racetrack, and then you keep driving the car in this bigger open area, wheeling around as you look down from like an isometric view, and then you go back to the racetrack again, and then you're back on your feet fighting like you were before. Things started to get mixed up a bit in later levels. They had some interesting things that you had to do while you were driving around the open areas. But other than that, it was pretty much consistent throughout the whole game. There is, of course, the racing mode. Again, the racing mode is the only version for the Wii and the 3DS, but it is an included version on all of the other systems. The thing about Skylanders SuperChargers racing is it is really fun. Honestly, it is really fun. It looks really similar to Mario Kart and is pretty similar to Mario Kart, but when it chooses to mix things up, it does it in ways that are really entertaining. For example, each vehicle has a weapon that you can fire during the race at your opponents, and you pick up ammo along the way. If you get fired on too much, your vehicle spins out and you have to wait a second before you can get back to driving. The tracks are also so beautiful. I feel like all of the great level design from Trap Team went into designing the racetracks for SuperChargers. So yeah, the racing in Skylanders SuperChargers is gorgeous, it's entertaining, and it is super competitive. Here's the problem though. When you buy the starter pack, you are only getting access to 2 of the land racetracks. To get the other 2, you're going to need that racing action pack for the land and the villain trophy that unlocks the other 2 tracks. This is ridiculous. It's the same thing for the sea tracks and the sky tracks. If you just want to unlock 2 sea races, you can go out the door right now and buy one of the sea vehicles for $14.99. You'll be able to race 2 of the sea tracks with that vehicle. But there is literally no reason to do that because you can buy the racing action pack for $34.99 and get the vehicle, which unlocks the first 2 races, and then the villain trophy, which unlocks the other 2. And it is exactly the same deal for the sky tracks. Honestly, this kind of sucks. It means you're buying a $74 game and then you're going out and spending at the very least $60 if it's not on sale for Black Friday to unlock all of the racetracks. That being said, I do understand why this is. The racing mode is huge. It's honestly basically a second game. I understand why you don't get full access to it just from buying the adventure mode. But I'm not gonna lie, it kind of feels bad to go into racing mode and see all these grayed out tracks that you can't access. At the end of the day, Disney Infinity is definitely a cheaper game unless you're buying it on Apple TV, and it is more creative than Skylanders. That being said, unless you're really into that creative aspect of Disney Infinity, I had a lot more fun with Skylanders SuperChargers. If you are sick of commercialization, you're probably not watching this video, and neither of these franchises is good for you. But honestly, I felt a lot more consumer rage when I was playing Skylanders SuperChargers. And of course, if you are a Star Wars fan, the choice is obvious, or you're gonna go out there and buy a Star Wars Lego game. I think if you love racing and you don't mind investing in all those racing action packs, Skylanders SuperChargers definitely has better racing modes than Disney Infinity. Plus, Skylanders has great local split screen racing, and you can race with 4 players online. Honestly, despite all of their differences, I feel more ambivalent about this year's Disney Infinity and Skylanders than ever before. If I were you and I hadn't bought either one of these yet, I would probably just go buy last year's Skylanders Trap Team, which was an awesome game and will probably be a lot cheaper right now. And then you'll know who Broccoli Guy is. Alright, so is it Skylanders SuperChargers or Disney Infinity 3.0? Or is it the black sheep of the Toys to Life family, LEGO Dimensions? Let us know what your choice is in the comments below, and make sure you subscribe to this channel before you go. Thank you. Anakin Skywalker. Oh, there's my cards.